Welcome, everyone. Dr. Thor Templar here, and let's talk more about Gnosis. I mean, everyone should be excited about Gnosis, and I don't think that people quite understand the great value of it. This is the highest state that a human can reach. Plain and simple. This is the highest state that you can ascend to while being in the physical body. And then once you reach the state of Gnosis, you're able to then ascend out of this reality into a much better one. Plain and simple. So it's very exciting. But what does that mean? Oh, all this ascension stuff's kind of boring and it doesn't... what does it mean? Well, once you reach the state of Gnosis, you know exactly what is reality, what works within your personal life, and what you have to do to change it. So you keep making one correct decision after another, and this radically changes your life. Just think about it. Just think if you knew, you look back at your life and say, I should have done this, I should have done that probably, and I think we all do that. What if you made right decisions from the time you were 16, maybe 10, and every decision you made was the best for you? Just think how your life would have changed. It's like having foreknowledge. It's like seeing the future. And this is an extremely powerful position to be in. You know, everyone's looking for some epiphany, some great happening when you do either success technologies, when you do certain rituals, when you do meditations, or in general, you get a tool or something else and where's the fireworks? The problem is life is not fireworks. And in most of the cases, it's good that it isn't. You don't want radical things happening to you. Life is not like that. And generally, life is very boring. We live very boring lives because that's what it takes to survive. And what is life anyway? What is an exciting life? This was always something that people look at wealthy people, movie stars, etc., thinking they have this great, exciting life. And they really don't. And they don't have that many extra friends. They're not doing all that much. Yes, they have money. People like them. And there's nothing overly new about that. But the point is that fans can also be very traumatic. And most people don't interact with their fans. You know, it's hard to be around people that kind of semi-worship you. So it's not like these people are in greater states of feeling that they're wonderful and pleased by it. They're really not. They generally tend to be very unhappy people, even with everything around them. And the more people you interact with, most likely the more problems you're going to have on many levels. So thinking that you're going to have some great thing happen to you is not how it works. And there's a few reasons for that. Just as I mentioned, life in general is this day-to-day. You're cleaning, you're cooking, you're eating, you're washing yourself. You're taking care of all these basic needs which you have to do as a human. And these things which are a necessity, including going to work, which takes most of your time, and then sleeping. I mean, you don't have that much time for all these other things. So just in general, even if you have a fairly good life, in terms of you have a certain income and kind of like your job, which most people don't have either of those. But if you do, life is not that exciting. What do you think is going to happen? What's it? You want spirits to pop up left and right. You want to see angels and other. What does this do to your daily life? And when you start living in that quasi-magical world where things happen or I should say things happen Hollywood-like, your total reality is distorted and perverted. And then you start to lose contact with ascension because you're working in a world that doesn't really exist or is something you can work with except on certain levels. So, you know, having spirits all the time around you doing everything would be a nightmare. So you want guidance, and that's why people that hear things or see spirits tend to be people that are very unbalanced. And this unbalance, it doesn't really help their life. And it never seems that these contacts that people make do all that much for their life. So, and when you become unbalanced, you don't even know how to use information. So you have to stay with a firm foot and a half in this physical reality. And you have to then go into the other realities, take what you need and bring it back here, because you don't live in those empowered realities or those spiritual realities. So you have to take that back to the physical reality that you're living in. So this is a balance that you go in, part of the Gnosis process. But the whole idea is that it's very exciting that you can now make decisions so that you can start radically changing your life. You got to remember, you've been making wrong decisions for all your life. This could be 20, 30, 50, 60 years. And you're not going to start all of a sudden empowering yourself now, and your life is going to immediately radical change. Why? Well, you have all the old problems. I deal with this all the time with people that have curses on them and who are in a very highly cross condition, meaning that throughout life they have lots of blockages. Well, those blockages, once you uncross somebody, are still there. Or the problems they created, I should say. The blockages generally with uncrossing is removed, and that way you're able to move ahead. But move ahead to what? If you have legal problems, if you're behind in your mortgage, all these things are still going to be there. Now, when you remove the blockages, things will change, and you'll find opportunities to change those situations, ways of getting better income, to possibly catch up on your mortgage, or some sort of out that you could do that will still be very productive for you. And sometimes radical changes are very positive. Radical changes are extremely positive. And you won't do anything unless you're forced to. But this is the type of thing that's a serious problem with the entire process. But things don't just disappear. So all the things you've done in your life, if you've been sick for 20 years, you're not going to be healed the next day. But you will know what to do to handle it, and your life will progressively improve. And this over a relatively short period of time, from 6 months to a year, can be very, very significant. You can change health problems totally around. You can feel 100% better. You can increase your income. All this is going to happen as you start unblocking yourself, and part of this process is the Gnosis process. That's what's so great about Gnosis. You're going to know what to do. And one of the things about making right decisions in life is that this does radically change your life. Plain and simple, as I've said. Once you keep making one right decision after another, this has a snowball effect, a domino effect, where this builds in your life because one good thing happens and other good things happen. So that's why reaching this state of understanding and getting out of the basically the contrived fantasy world that we live in, all the lies that we've been told, all of our history books are lies, all the stories we're told are lies. It's really an urban legend that we're living in. Nothing is real. It's all what society wants to keep you in their little box. And the problem is that you can follow that little box, and they often pay people good wages and so forth to keep you in line, at least to a period of time. And then they'll get you in their medical system, they'll get you in their legal system, and they'll destroy you because they gave you wealth and now they're going to take back even more. This is the game played. So you got to know what's going on. You've got to know the reality of all these things. I mean, these ridiculous concepts of caring, loving doctors who have answers, and police that are honest, and politicians are there to work for you. The military is all these things which are, and religion is there to help you. They're there to pick your pockets. What has religion ever done for anybody? And what do they do in general, except fill their own pockets and their own perversions? So, if you live in those realities and play their game, you certainly can buy into it. And of course, that's what people do in any organization. They buy into it. And then this continues to be a complete sellout into these things. And you may or may not, society takes care of a certain percentage of people so they can keep the system going. Meaning, if they destroy everybody, then nobody will go to jobs, nobody will follow through, nobody will go to the medical systems, and all that stuff will fall apart. So, a certain percentage of people, they always take care of that are part of the game playing. The poor, the stupid, those that are targeted for one reason or another, are then destroyed. Put into the system to support the rotting system. So, it's frightening, scary, and extremely dangerous. And if you fall into this, you're never going to get anywhere in life. And this is not a state of gnosis, not getting anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere in the mastering the physical plane, which is so important. That's the number one thing that all success scientists have to worry about first. Everything else comes after that. You have to have some sort of stability, whatever that may be, so that you can progress into the higher empowerment stages. So once you are making all the right decisions, everything works for you, plain and simple. Once you understand this, and it's not just making the right decisions, one of the most critical areas of gnosis is knowing, or at least questioning to a large degree and putting it in the, I don't know, that's a neutral place, of whether something is good or bad. So the problem is that people want the answers to everything. They want the lotto numbers. Well, that would be wonderful, but if everybody could get the lotto numbers, or even a tiny percentage of people could, there would be no lotto. So, I mean, there are reasons for some of these strange society-based realities that are out there. So people want these very direct things, which are very childish to begin with, but these things can be achieved. I mean, there are people using gnosis-empowered realities through different success science methods, from magic to remote viewing, that are using these to gain great wealth. So, I mean, this is part of the process. But what you really want to do as a first process to see that you are reaching gnosis is questioning everything around you. Is that real? Are you finding out the rest of the story, the real part of the story, instead of that obnoxious view that the public and the media gives you to kind of push you in a direction? This is bad. This is what's happening. You know, a lot of these things can be dramatically explained with the 9/11 buildings falling straight down. And then, of course, it's all terrorists, it's all these guys, and they produce these typical villains of the Muslims coming out and doing all this stuff. So, well, you know, this is a very gross front, and they made sure this was very plausible, and that it was connected certain people to it all. But when it really came down to it, it's a complete farce. Buildings don't fall straight down unless they're exploded. All 7 other buildings were also exploded. And it goes on and on and on with these things. And so obviously, while there was that tie-in for whatever, I mean, how difficult is it to get some maniac Muslims to get involved in these things? Not too difficult. This is part of their belief systems. So it was easy. But was that really it? I mean, they never seemed to do anything very bright. And so the point is they're really low-tech things they're doing, including, obviously, getting an airplane and running it. It's pretty low-tech. So most other things they were never able really to complete, even though they tried to bomb the World Trade Centers with car bombs and other things, which did have some effects, but certainly didn't knock a building down. So all of that, of course, was very plausible, and you tied that in. But when you really look at it, so many things don't make sense that it's literally a comic belief system. But that's what they push in front of you. So you've got to question things. And this is, of course, where reverse thinking comes in, which I've talked about in the past. If someone tells you one thing, you automatically, in your mind, say the opposite. It's raining. No, it's not. It's raining. It's sunny out. Now, even if it is raining, you want to do that as practice so you don't believe when anybody tells you. Do you really know it? Is that just an image put in front of you? Is somebody sprinkling water on your play? Well, you know, this could be very real. Is this some sort of projected image for that particular area? Is this another falsity added to the 100% other falsities that are fed to you all the time? So as soon as you start questioning everything, you're on your state to gnosis. You then are going to make right decisions instead of based on your faulty understanding of what is real from past understandings, because that's how we do everything. Well, you put your hand in the fire, you're burnt. Your mind says, well, don't put your hand in the fire, you're going to get burnt. So you learn from past understandings of what things are. Now, when it comes to fire, obviously that was a good lesson. When it comes to pretty much most anything else, it's not a good lesson and probably is wrong. And everything you know and believe is wrong. all your history, all your information. And we're following people who are complete and total failures. Science has failed 100%. They're not solving any medical problems. They can't even cure dandruff and acne. We don't have any free energies. We're still burning oil or charging batteries. Stupid old things. With hundreds of billions of dollars spent on law enforcement, we have nothing under control. It's a complete joke. Yet they're going to tell you all this, and they come out and say they've got the cures on the horizon for this disease. It's the cure. It's the cure. So, it's all lies, just like your history is lies. Everything you know about the formation of any country, for that matter, but it seems the United States has even a more fake history than everybody else. I mean, when you start reading about exactly what's happened, it's nothing at all like our movie garbage textbooks that are created by some Texans out there who control the textbook market and put complete lies in there. I mean, they found unbelievable things there. And this is all around the world, misstatements that I find in everything out there. And people don't get details right. I just recently read a book called The Prophet's Daughter, which I've left a book review on. Now, the interesting thing about this is that, and I find this in every book, she talked about guns. Again, there was a gun issue there, et cetera, et cetera. As they were building a survivalist type camp, and they said one of the problems they had is they had a rifle that shot 6-inch bullets. Well, there's no such thing as a 6-inch bullet. They were talking about 50 caliber guns, which the entire cartridge plus the bullet is 6 inches. But she understood that the bullets were so big. But there's a difference between a bullet and a cartridge. But the whole idea is that I always wonder, well, if you don't understand that concept, did you understand the concepts of something else? What else wrong did you get? And you may say that's a slight error, but a lot of little slight errors like this can add up to people not knowing what they're talking about, or the meaning of something becoming distorted. So this is what's out there in the audience. So the point is you have to question everything. Believe nothing. You know, I've pretty much said this on the website, and it's something that everybody should go to the main website home page and read it every day, maybe 5 or 10 times a day. You should go there and actually do it. Read this. And it's very important that people understand the concepts out there of what's going on. So, that, government has failed. Traditional science has failed. Manifesting science has never failed, and that's right. But you want to believe nothing. You want to question all authority. Everything has to be questioned all the time. They're leading you down the primrose path to destruction. They're not empowering you, they're disempowering you. They want slaves. And they're going to feed you bullshit, like they always do, so that they can enslave you. So, this is the big reality going on. And, what are we going to do about all this stuff? What is this going to happen if we continue to follow these paths, which are basically self-destruction? Well, that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's exactly what they want. They want you disempowered so you can't function and beat the system. If they give you money, like they give so many people, like Elon Musk, who's heavily connected in the Illuminati, and we go on and on and on, they're controlling you. The head of Facebook, every one of the major corporations are completely and totally controlled by the organized crime and the government. Plain and simple. It's not complicated. They walk in and out of places like Walmart and other places, and they completely control it and take them over anytime they want to. I've personally seen this and had it happen to me. So, this is not an illusion. I see what's going on because I am awakened. Now, you have to be awakened too. So, it's actually Thor's club, the order that has the more Gnosis statement on the top of the page. Believe nothing, question everything, question all authority, trust no one. There is no reality until the manifesting scientist creates it. Learn it, be it, do it, and let the guild be your guide. I mean, this is something you should have imprinted on your consciousness. This is how everything, if you should repeat this every time you get into a place where you need to make a good decision. Well, what do? Well, the first thing before you make a big decision is you go to this page and you read it. Believe nothing, question everything, question all authority, trust no one. There is no reality until the manifesting scientist creates it. Learn it, be it, do it, and let the guild be your guide. Now, this is the most potent information you can ever get into your consciousness. It's not about studying. It's about getting this into your consciousness. This triggers the inner magical being, slaps him in the face, and gets him off his sofa and gets him working. And this is the consciousness that you need to work out of. And you need to work out of this in a smile on your face, understanding you're in control, and not letting others stress you out or creating reactions from you. And of course, this is what everybody wants to do. They want to create these reactions from you. So you react the way society wants you to react so they can control you, harness you, arrest you, murder you, whatever it may be, that comes in there. But if you're in control, if you're thinking, well, what is the purpose of this? What is going on? Then you don't have these kind of problems. And then, of course, when you start making right decisions one after another, your life starts to radically change in a pretty quick period of time. The problems you've had in the past will seek to be constantly recreated, and the problems that are left there, you'll figure out ways to solve them. Now, a lot of times this is not going to happen quickly, but it will happen quickly that the processes will start to solve this. You may be able to, you can't, let's say it's a debt situation, you may not be able to eliminate that debt, but you'll figure out some way that you can pay it off and go on with your life. Something similar to that in terms of what'll happen, which you could have, which never had the opportunity to do in the past. So, and this goes with every area of life. What to study, who to believe, what information to go to, what store to buy a lottery ticket in. These are all the things that you can tune into so that you can make your life much better. Should you leave a job? Should you get another job? Should you do this or that? The whole idea is these things really radically change your life when you think about it. If you would have stayed in one particular place in the past, would you be where you are today now? If you had moved, if you've gotten a different job, you went to a different school, all these things are the decisions that you make that then affect your life for the rest of your life, for better or worse. But learning to tap into Gnosis to give you the right answer, for you to question and not give knee-jerk reactions to anything, because those knee-jerk reactions are based on a whole bunch of faulty information that's been taught to you by the lowest garbage on the planet, which is society and society's structure, the idiot, goofball, scumbucket teachers, and all these people who have just led you down a path of destruction. Whether it is direct or non-direct of them doing this, I don't care. They're still screwing up. And they're affecting millions of lives. It's all lies. And they're caught in it because they're part of the system. Now, having that knowledge is very empowering, because then that means that anything that you get anywhere, you can't buy into. You have to figure out, well, what really is the story and how does this work best for me in my life? So everything that we believe in, this is why there's, once you reach a certain level, you do have free will, which is near impossible in general, or is impossible for almost everyone but a person who reaches Gnosis. A person who reaches Gnosis has free will. You are making decisions now on a higher level, not a program thing because, oh, daddy told me, the church told me, a teacher told me, a cop told me, a lawyer told, oh yeah, all the scum buckets of the world. Every one of these. There's what you're making decisions on. So you don't have free will because you're basing it on somebody else's information that you got. It's not. So there's a very minor free will aspect there. A person who has true free will is basing things on cosmic consciousness, based on universal or intergalactic understanding of this situation. What is the best thing to do? Instead of what would a Catholic do? What would Jesus do? Isn't that funny little things to have now? So what would a professional do here? Well, do professionals know what they're doing? Is anybody doing anything right in life? Well, I don't see anything coming out very well. Now, there's ballpark stuff, and some things do work. Other things don't. And they may not work for you if they work for somebody else. So this is how you get into the free will. This is how your whole life changes. And it's not something that is so easy to pin down like getting the lotto numbers or whatever it may be that you're seeking in this very direct physical thing. It's a combination of what happens in life. Make a good decision here, make a good decision there. Snowball, snowball, your life radically changes and everything falls into place. Make bad decisions and the opposite happens. One bad decision usually creates a whole bunch of other bad things to happen, and this causes huge amounts of conflict in your life. So you're going to get ahead. It means lack of conflict so you can continue to move ahead. This is what Gnosis is all about. And people have to understand the subtleties of this, just like doing success rituals. The fact is that these things build. These things take time. You're putting positive energy in your environment. So while you can manifest some very direct things by using many different techniques, and they will work for you almost instantly, in the bigger picture, it's about putting energy out consistently to get major results. So there's a long-term success that you're looking for ultimately. So this is something that everybody has to understand and work through as this entire process. And it should not be underestimated that, oh, well, I'm just, I'm not a movie star. I don't have $1 million in the bank, and I'm not driving a Ferrari. And this means that you're not successful. That's what society tells you. And those people are not really all that successful. Most of them are highly, highly in debt, and they owe their soul to their luxuries, to their staff they have to keep going. So they are a slave to their personal possessions. People have gone and still go bankrupt all the time that are very wealthy, and then they have enormous monthly expenses to keep that going. So that forces them what? To be free? No, it forces them to be a slave, to follow what the system tells them to do so they can keep their money flow going. And that means buying into an evil, corrupt system and working with those evil, corrupt people, because that's how you're going to keep your credit card paid off. So this is the reality of everything. Now, a person who's making good decisions knows how to use their money wisely and not get caught in that trap. That doesn't mean that you live poor. That means you learn how to use your money properly and not become a slave. Do you really need an 18-room mansion where you have to have people cleaning, cooking, and doing all the other things? So it's impossible for you to do it yourself, and why would you possibly do that? So you're going to have to pay all these people. Do you really? No, you don't need that. You can keep things down on a much nicer level and still have the same lifestyle. What is that? And I've known a lot of very wealthy people, and they close most of their huge houses off because they don't use all those rooms. Amazing how these people never seem to have many children, and they don't seem to be offering their facilities to others. So they use 2 rooms, the kitchen and the bedroom generally, and occasionally the living room. Well, what do you need an 18-room mansion then for? Because you're going to have all sorts of people come over and work with that, obviously. Cleaning, cooking, everything else. Security, all things like that. So it's a nightmare. I've seen this time and time again. Is that really what you want? So all of this happens, and even more ironically, is a lot of these people buy into communities, which then do their lawn work and other things for them. But what they've done is you've joined a place that now controls you. If you live in a, quote, planned community, a condominium development, you have to pay lots of money monthly for all these things out there, and they have rules. Well, you can't go in the pool after 10 o'clock. I'm glad. So you're a person who's got $50 million, and I've seen this personally many, many times as I worked in these organizations. You can't go in the pool. So you got $50 million in the bank, you can't use the pool after 10 o'clock. I'm as free as a bird. Except when I want to take a swim. So, the whole idea is that this is the reality that's out there, and it's a lot of amusing things about it. And then these rich people would fight over the grapefruits that were on the lawns in the common areas. So it's always amusing, but this is what it comes down to, and how petty you are and how they keep you enslaved. But always look for making right decisions. That's the key to everything. And that's what Gnosis is all about. And then you want to make sure that once you know your path is clear, that you empower it to the highest level. You're doing those success rituals. You're using your Triforce systems. You're doing everything possible because you need these boosts. You can't generate these energies on your own. It's too difficult. And when it really comes down to it, these so-called other, quote, holy people, or people that go in temples and meditate all day, well, they're spending all their time doing whatever it is. That's not success to me. And they're not producing much. They're living in a false reality again. If you live in a temple or are part of an organizational structure, well, that's not success. You're in a success of a structure. So the whole idea is that you need to empower yourself, and you need to use the many tools that are out there. And we offer many of them, and not get, things that are special become common the minute you own them for periods of time. You've got to understand how empowering the books are, that they're talismanic tools. You put your photographs in there and make sure you're using Polaroid film. Very important. You don't want to lose even a bit of energy. You want to make sure you use your audio amulets. Again, we make these extremely super easy, but just playing them and spinning those energies into your environment is critical. You need all the help you can get because everybody else is against you, and you yourself are not at a level of empowerment to push everything through. So, your amulets, all these things, these are not items that are made just to sell them to people. They were designed specifically there. How do you do a ritual all day? 24 hours? Well, I don't know how you can do that because you're going to have to sleep sometime. Well, it's called an amulet. The amulet sends you energy all the time. It's called a Triforce system. It's called an audio amulet. These are all sending you energies all the time, and these can never be underestimated of their impact because you can't send energy to you 24/7. It's too fatiguing. You can't concentrate on these things. You need a constant energy flow to you that you are semi-connected to. That's why with all these things, you have to connect with them frequently throughout the day. You want to frequently touch your amulets. You want to play your audio amulets. You need to, every day when you use your Triforce system, you need to touch the system. When you're talking about seconds here, literally seconds, because this energy that I have been researching here, I find is now instantaneous. There's nothing that takes a lot of work here. And this is one of the things that there are certain systems of energy generating that are difficult and take a lot of work. Qigong, all these things take a lot of energy. You got to do exercise. Well, how long is another thing. But even centering exercise, you're going to have to do for a period of day. But that's part of life. But there's a lot of things that you can do virtually instantly that work with you 24 hours a day. So you cannot underestimate any of these things whatsoever. So you have to understand that this is part of a very critical process to give you that very strong energies that you need, that you can't be generating yourself all the time. So, you need to be actually participating on minor levels all the time. But how do you do this? Well, you can't do long rituals each day. Nobody's going to do that. They're too busy, they're too lazy, etc. That's where all these tools come in. And these things empower your life dramatically. And we have endless feedbacks from all of the Ascension people who have been using these products, and everyone gets good results from it. Do they make you instant supermen? Well, as soon as I find that out of how that's done, I'll let you do it. Other people lie to you. We tell you that the possibilities are certainly there, and it's very dependent upon you and how you interact with it. But are the energies there? Can they do amazing things? Yes. Have they done amazing things? Yes. You have to interact with your tools, and tools are very important. That's the kind of reality that humans are. The one, and pretty much the only thing that humans, which have are a group of dominating parasites, but the one reason why we have actually progressed is because we build machines. We make tools. The tools, we then build machines. The machines then do things for us, so we don't have to do everything. So that's what these are. These are futuristic consciousness machines, and as we evolve these, everybody needs to be using a consciousness machine. You have a cell phone, you have a computer, and you should have a manifesting machine. These are Triforce systems, these are amulets, these are audio, all the things I've talked about, these are part of the process. And we're trying to make these stronger and stronger now as we fully understand the concepts of how to do this, which takes time, even for a person who's I know what needs to be done, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money and a lot of testing and a lot of building and other things that have to be done, while everything else has to be done. But this is on the way, and that's why we've continued to have many upgrades of our Triforce systems in particular, which now are up to an extremely high level. And now we're going to be coming up with even other manifesting machines. So it's all about, that's what the new reality is about. You're using common technology to survive in the common world, the day-to-day things you have to do, but that's not enough. Are you using manifesting technologies directly? And there has been these tools for many, many years. They've been fairly primitive. Some are difficult to use. Well, we've gotten over all that. But if you're not using manifesting machines, you are missing the boat, plain and simple. And that's a bad decision. It shows me that people haven't reached Gnosis. If you have reached Gnosis, you buy the tools you need to achieve the goals as soon as possible that you desire. Struggling or not putting your valuable money into things that will manifest in your life to create whatever you want is stupid thinking. Now, there's some people that just don't have these capacities for one reason or another, but there's an awful lot of money out there that seems to go to stuff. Makeups that cost $100 a bottle. Running shoes that are $200. It goes on with the huge amounts of money that people are putting into different areas of life, and this seems to be relatively common. Of course, there's always those that cannot afford anything for one reason or another. But your whole survival depends on this. You need to be keyed into the most important part of your life, which is staying well. You need consciousness technologies to do this and to be at a consciousness state. Wealth without health is worthless. So you have to understand that. So you have to take your resources and use these tools as soon as possible. Get them working in your life. This is your key. This is your edge that's going to make things happen. Very important. So you wouldn't take a long walk, at least I hope not, unless you had proper shoes. Or any walk. But certainly if you were going to, let's say, go on a hiking trip or climb a hill or do some hiking, you wouldn't use your shoes that you go to the office in. Boy, that would destroy them. You'd probably hurt yourself and possibly hurt yourself for the rest of your life because you wore the poor shoes, twisted ankles, broke. Who knows what could happen with that kind of stupidity? Not to mention it would make your entire experience horrific instead of something that should have been enjoyable. There's no difference than going around in life without empowerment tools. These are the edges. They work, and they work amazingly well in people's lives. And even the slightest thing, and people don't even get it. Most likely, on one level or another, these technologies that everyone has purchased, them, has saved their life. It's protected you. It's kept you out of trouble. It's kept you out of all sorts of dangerous situations that you may not be aware of whatsoever. You didn't turn down that street that you were going to because the technology told you not to, and you didn't even consciously think about it, but you would have. You would have died. Or maybe you would have gotten some horrible illness because your energetic bodies were not balanced enough, and that allowed you, with the massive amounts of toxins that we all take in, breathe in, and are exposed to, that would have affected you to give you a horrible illness that you don't have because you're using the technology. All of this stuff is very difficult to measure. But it isn't difficult to measure the amount of graves that are out there from people dying every day from accidents and illnesses, and those people living in poverty, which is growing at leaps and bounds. Those can be measured. How many of those could have been avoided? Well, I believe that at least 80 to 90% could have been avoided if they were using the guild technologies. I don't think there's a question. There's many opportunities out there. You have to be aware of them on all sorts of levels. If you're making the right decisions, if you've reached even a semi-state of Gnosis, you're going to be soaring in your health and in your success, and ultimately into ascension, where you don't have to be trapped in this horrible hell plane we live in, where you can go higher and then live a life that is much more fulfilling. But that's the game, people. It's not a given, and the game is a hard one. If it was easy, what value would anything have? Why would you even have a game if it was too easy to win? What's the point of it? Well, everybody wins, so what? Like gambling. Everybody goes and all the slot machines pay you off every time. Well, first of all, obviously that's something that couldn't be sustained. Secondly, what would be the point of it? So, it's the quest for things. That's the part of it. It's the taking a raw spiritual being and actually making them into a fine-tuned, giving you, testing you. Can you do it? Can you get it? Do we want all the evil scum that is on this planet now, 99.9% of the people, in another realm where you've ascended out of it? Well, what point would that be? Here, we'd be creating the same scum bucket evil realm that we're in right now, transferring it to another one because ascension was easy. Buy your way in. Well, if that was the case, it would be setting up the same society. It's not like that. You can't buy your way in. You can't go to a guru on the weekend and change your life while then you go back to your evil law practice or exploiting people and whatever you do. Doesn't work like that. So there's this amazing cosmic balance that is out there that happens with all societies. So, intergalactically. And this is the path, and this is what you have to understand. So these are the steps you have to go, and these are how your life starts to radically change. But it also, you won't be able to use your tools properly if you don't get it. If you're not thinking correctly, you cannot access these high empowerments. While all these tools help you to a certain extent, to get the kind of results that everybody wants, you have to be at higher states of consciousness. And that means you got to know what reality is. And you got to drop all these society nonsense that they've been pushing at you that are complete and total lies. You're living longer. There's cures, medical on the horizon. What are they talking about? And that is all lies. And statistics bear them out. So it's not like this stuff is overly hidden from people. It's just that they know that nobody's ever going to read or do any kind of research except for a select few. So what happens is that they just tell you what's easy to believe in. But what really is going on is the fact that there is complete and total lies. And the corruptness and the evilness of the reality that we live in is unbelievable. Plain and simple, you won't believe it. If you knew it, it would just blow your mind out. So these are things you have to slowly accept. People have absolutely no idea. And even if you tell people things, and I've been told things for many, many years, and kind of, well, what am I supposed to say to that? You take it in and you say, yeah, that's interesting. It's probably true. But you don't really get the consequences on that. The huge amount of corruption that I was told throughout my entire life, I never kind of shrugged it off. But it's there all the time. We see it all the time, and nobody does anything about it. It's amazing, even when it comes down to murdering people in the street like the police do, who shoot people in the back 5 times, or beat some guy in a group of 12 down to a pulp. And everybody just shrugs it off. Well, what do you mean shrugging that off? And what does that mean? You say, well, you know, who gives a shit about that guy and that, this and that, and people... What does that reflect? And if someone is doing that kind of activity in general, What other corruption are they involved in? Well, I can tell you they're involved in a lot. I mean, there isn't a clean cop on the entire planet. Not one. They're all involved, whether it's a little or a lot. Just like every doctor is involved in corruption as well. Just the way it is. That's the system. It's set up and they're not going to let you escape. And if you open your mouth, they'll take you out. They'll kill you. They'll murder you. I don't think people get any of this stuff. You need to have these understandings if you're going to break the enslavement on you. And you need to have your tools, and you need to be working, and you need to start making right decisions, and you'll see your life radically change. Basically, there's ways of manifesting everything. Now, you have to figure out how to do that within your own understandings, but you have to train yourself in different areas as well. If you have to do something to take care of your life, well, you're going to have to do that. Whether that's training, whether that's doing something different or not. People get caught in their society structures. If your daddy went to college, you probably went to college. If not, then you have a problem. You won't have college education. And what do you do if you don't have college education? What else can you do? What skills? There's lots of things people can do without traditional education. But it depends on what society you're trying to get into and what you're trying to do. So this is something that is a personal thing, but Gnosis will lead you to your answers. So it's all about that, but it's all about, you can't think the same way, you can't buy into the system, you can't believe anything, you have to question everything. Once you start doing that, your life radically changes. Until next time.